Find us on Facebook, email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com, or go to our website at head2headpinball.com.
Welcome everybody to the Head2Head Pinball Podcast, episode number 14. A very, very interesting episode for us. And it's Martin here, and with me...
It's Ryan C, but mate, I thought your name was Muttley. Mate, this is the reason why I'm bringing it up. I had 2 people message me this week. I don't know why it took 13 weeks for people to message me, but they said, do you know what Marty sounds like? He sounds like this.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had no idea who this character was, and yeah, you're Muttley from Wacky Races. Is it a
Wacky Races? And I think there was a spin-off as well, maybe the Perils of Penelope Pitstop.
Okay.
Yeah, so definitely showing my age now. But I thought I'd mention to you that I was very aware that I sound like Muttley.
You mentioned a lot of things, and it goes through one ear and out the other. So we do have a massive episode today. We're going to talk about Dialed In New Code, Alice Cooper. We're going to talk about the massive event that happened in Melbourne this week, which is the Flip Out, which we got to play Alien. We got to play Pirates of the Caribbean. It was flown down express.
Yeah, we did.
The US. There's only 6 Pirates of the Caribbean in the world, and we got to muck around with one, which is really fun.
Yep.
There's an interview in here as well, Martin.
You say that. I've got to make sure that this interview is cleaned up because the audio is pretty bad, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that everyone can listen to it. But yeah, we do have an interview with Jersey Jack and Jersey Jack Jr. that we did at the Flip Out 2017. But yeah, I've got to do a bit of work on the audio.
We're going to talk about our seminar, our massive seminar.
We had a massive seminar. We're going to talk about what we've done in this week, and we've got a question for the listeners.
All right. So dialed in code at Expo was at 1.45, and there's a lot of little updates in that code, and it wasn't released. And we had an event this week, Marty, the Melbourne Flip Out event.
Yes.
And I emailed Ted, who's the software engineer, and I said, hey, we've got this event going on. Can we please grab the firmware for the machines? Because, you had it at Chicago Expo, so obviously it's good enough to show there. And it hasn't been released yet. And he said, unfortunately, there's a little bug, and he hadn't figured out what triggers this bug, but basically the machine would crash in a certain state. We updated the machines anyway, because why not? And I loved 1.45, Marty. It's getting to the state where was that where you think it's complete, and it is complete enough. Like there's really no reason. Sure, there's like little bugs here and there, but if they fix those little bugs, that'd be enough. But in Jersey Jack fashion, they're fixing the bugs, but they're also including new modes, new fixes, new lighting effects. I'm not sure if you noticed them all this week when you were playing the machine.
Look, we'll get to that when we talk about the event. I actually only got to play Dialed In once.
Oh wow!
But fortunately, in that game, I did manage to get to that new mini wizard mode, which I think you're saying is Chaos in Quantum City.
Yep.
And it's awesome. It is. Yeah. It is really awesome. And you said to me at the time, before I played it, that it was like the Destroy the Witch mode in Wizard of Oz. And
that's what people described it.
Yeah, and I can understand why, because the shots that you're going for are white. Even though I know with the Kill the Witch they're white and they're red, but it did remind me of that. And what was it? A 5-ball, multi-ball, maybe 6. It was just welcome new addition because that was 6 modes in, and
that's achievable by the average Joe. I think if the average Joe has a good game, they can get to that.
Yeah. So remember when we were talking about this a couple of episodes ago when. I flip-flop, and yes, I flip-flop, and I'm going to defend myself later about flip-flopping, but what I was saying is that what I found with Dialed In, it didn't surprise me. Remember, I famously said it didn't surprise me, and it's because you're going through the modes and another mode and then another mode and another mode. this was a really good break in between all of those modes to have this happen.
Yeah, 12 modes. Well, I was going to say 12 modes is a bit of a grind, but when you add the element of really trying to finish the mode to collect the SIM card, like there really is motivation to play modes. This is probably the only game that I've ever played where the modes are easily the most important thing. They're more exciting than multi-ball. The modes are everything, and there's so many different ways you can tackle it with the SIM cards or the Big Bang. So I don't know. I don't know what to say besides I love Dalton. I still love it so much. One of the features, there's a lot of cool lighting effects in Chaos in Quantum City. The entire machine, and this is we were playing under fluoros and stuff, but the entire GI was kind of like pulsing, like something crazy is going on in the city. And I could still see the ball because we were playing in daylight, but I'm sure if that was in a home environment, like the whole room would kind of be flashing like a strobing effect. So I can't wait to kind of see that in a home environment.
Well, again, it comes back to when I was my sort of criticism of it was that I kind of never felt like there was any sort of special moment. And we talked about the fact that when there is one of these disasters happening, do you actually feel that a disaster is happening? If you remember, we both kind of agreed that it didn't feel that special. That mode, that mini wizard mode, feels really special.
Yep. And when you look at the release notes for it, it said a Chaos in Quantum City rough cut. So they're not satisfied with the way it is. That's just kind of like, here's your mode. We're going to fine tune this and make it this cool mini wizard mode. So I think it's a good time to be a Dalton owner. And I said the lighting effects as well. Like the right ramp, I think would only ever light up green, like when lock was lit.
Yes.
So the upper ramp. I saw that light up a whole bunch of different colors. I didn't know that they were using color changing GI for that. So,
well, it does get used for one of the modes where the shot that you're going for does go onto different areas of the playfield. But yeah, for the most part, it is for lock.
Okay. So this is a bit of exclusive head-to-head news, right?
Yeah, here we go.
Right. So I emailed Ted and I kind of gave him a report of how the weekend went. And he said, this is a head-to-head exclusive, right, guys? This is really cool information.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Yeah, he found the bug. So he found the bug. It's a really silly bug. It's when you like get the high score like 10 times and it takes a picture. And it didn't happen this weekend, but it would have happened at Expo because there's more people there, there's more machines. So the bug's squashed, the bug's fixed. So you'll be getting 1.45, or I'm guessing it's going to be 1.46 or something.
Possibly.
Very, very soon. And
so what we saw is that when you do get your name up on the board, you do get your picture taken with it. And we had mentioned that before as a potential idea. So let's take claim for it. I am actually pretty sure, based on now having a chat with Jersey Jack himself, because of the fact that he gets hundreds of suggestions each week, I'm sure other people suggested it as well. But the camera's there. The camera's there. You might as well use it. And it was very funny because people weren't realizing that it was taking their photo at the time. So there were some very, very silly pictures.
Well, somebody, inadvertently put AAA because he wasn't. There was a competition on Dialed In, and he didn't win. And he got very, very, very close. So he just put AAAAA, which I think, I've discussed it with this guy. So I'm not saying anything special here, but I think it's a little bit rude and it's kind of like, well, I don't deserve to put my. I don't need to put my name there because it wasn't the highest score, but it's still better than anyone else's. Yep. And as soon as he pressed end, it took a snap. So he's immortalized forever on that pinball. Like he's putting anonymous, but you've got his picture there, which is worse than his name. So it's a warning out there to everyone that wants to put rubbish names in there. Your picture will be. It's a mugshot.
Yeah, they've got it in for you.
All right.
So we're now going to talk about. Well, you are mainly going to talk about Alice Cooper because you've got all the news here.
Yeah, you have. It's been a busy weekend, so I listened to Canada's podcast on the way to and from the event. You haven't had time to do it yet, but
no, I've got it downloaded. I haven't listened to it yet.
Chris done a really good interview with Ben, and mostly it was kind of talking about home pin and the whole saga to do with
this is Ben Heck.
Yeah, Ben Heck. Sorry. But the really interesting bit came about an hour and 5 minutes in, and we're not going to edit this in like cheeky Chris did, and just steal the interview. But this is the good juicy part of the interview. So in regards to Alice Cooper, Ben is helping in designing the rules and the gameplay, but he's not coding it. So he's the one who's designing the structure of the rules and how everything, like a flowchart of how the game will be played. And the interesting part about this is that Ben talked at Expo last year about how he wanted to do an original theme like America's Most Haunted, but you're battling monsters. And as we've discussed before, Alice Cooper really now sounds like this is the idea. Like this is instead of that. And it's weird because every time we hear bits of information about Alice Cooper, it's sounding less and less and less like an Alice Cooper pinball machine and more just like a haunted castle.
And he just happens to be there.
Well, his songs play when you're battling the monsters. That's what apparently happens. So I'm pretty sure what happens is as soon as you like plunge the ball, you're not going to hear Alice Cooper music. You might hear call outs like "Welcome to the Castle," "I'll be your guide," and but you won't get to hear the song until you start a mode. I'm pretty sure the first mode will be easy to get into, so it's not like you're gonna have to play for 20 minutes before you hear the mode. But
right.
They've actually contracted someone else to do background music that isn't Alice Cooper. So there's 9 monsters. Along the way, when you're battling these monsters, you collect different items and skills, and you can take different paths, like Outrun. Have you played the game Outrun, Marty?
Yes, of course I have. Yes.
Yeah.
So
so everyone ends up at the same, the same endpoint, but you get there through a different path.
Yes.
Go left or go right. So it almost sounds like, and he also compared it to Dragon's Lair. So I think Ben's taking his kind of video game experience and using that to design a pinball machine, which is kind of cool, right? It's like a video game take on a pinball machine. What else? He wouldn't confirm or deny if there was an upper or lower play field, but it's a castle, so there are no single level castles. So I think we can expect either one or both of them.
Well, there's only one real level in Medieval Madness, and there's a castle. There just happens to be ramps.
Yeah, but no one's going to redesign the greatest toy mech of all time, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
You can't go up against the Medieval Madness castle.
No, that's right.
What else? He revealed that they will be showing the pinball machine early in 2018. So it might actually be before TPF, maybe with a stream or kind of a video reveal like Rob Zombie. And I'm guessing TPS will be the first time that it's shown to the public.
So when is the date for the Texas Pinball Festival?
March something. March 18th. Rings a bell. I should know.
Yeah, okay. I only wanted to ask that because you keep saying TPF and people might not know what TPF stands for.
Sorry. In March 2018. It's pinball, man. You got to use acronyms.
Yeah, you do.
And the last thing that was mentioned was that Ben is also working on his game for Spooky, which would be after Alice Cooper, and he wouldn't give any information about that at all.
It's going to be Bible Adventures, isn't it?
Has there ever been a religious themed pinball machine at all? Surely in like the solid state EM era when they were just chucking out like millions of machines, there would be one, right? No?
I don't know of it. There may be.
Can someone email us, please?
I don't know whether pinball historically was ever on the innocent side of the hobbies, if you know what I mean. They were in pool halls, they were in gambling places.
Yeah, but have you read the Old Testament, Marty? Like, there's some crazy shit that went down in the Old Testament,
there was some
right?
bad stuff, man. Some bad
like,
stuff.
Jesus sounds like a cool guy, but that God character, like, he killed a lot of people, right?
Yeah, if you do the wrong thing, it's going to be painful.
Yeah, Moses, like he's like, all right, well, let's just purge the entire.
Yeah, well, he can do that.
He can do that because he's God.
Yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
let's not go there. Let's not turn this religious. Right?
No, let's not. Let's not make me edit that one out. Let's just steer away from it.
All right,
Gojira.
It's in there. All right. That's just a personal joke between me and Marty. All right.
And for those people that were at our seminar on the weekend, how's this for a segue? Because we're now going to talk about... I can now be back in the room because I can talk about something, and that was... we had been talking about this for, I'd say, only a few weeks, because we only really knew of this event a few weeks. So this is Flip Out 2017. And it was on the back of, Jersey Jack wanting to come out to launch Pirates of the Caribbean. And the distributor here in Australia is Mr. Pinball, so a gentleman called Wayne Gillard. And so Wayne thought, well, we did a launch last year of Dialed In. Let's do it again, but let's just make it a bit bigger. So it actually ended up being a pinball event. And we had to organise it within, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. And there was a lot of things that we had to do. But the good news is it turned out to be a great event.
It was an awesome event, and I think it's now going to, well, as long as Jersey Jack releases a pinball machine every year, this will become a yearly thing. And last year, I think it was in December, so it was 2 months after Dialed In was revealed. I think it was December. This year, it was literally a week after the Chicago Expo release. So they actually sent down Pirates of the Caribbean. It was in the air before it was revealed from Chicago. And yeah, my understanding is there's only 6 of these machines worldwide.
That's right. And he said, he could have sent 6 machines to Chicago Expo, or he could send 5 there and 1 down to us. So we're obviously glad that he did.
Yeah. We'll talk about Pirates of the Caribbean a little bit later, but what was at this event, Marty?
So, well, there was a lot of things. So the pinball party bus was there, Ryan.
Woohoo!
It was really cool. I did say hi to Mick and Dion, and I got to have a look inside, and it's very cool what they've done.
I saw them there both days, obviously, but there was so much stuff going on. I totally forgot to go out and go into the party bus, and we should have done a head-to-head battle. We said we were going to do it.
I know.
It's so convenient.
Well, we've always talked about the fact that we need to have a particular head-to-head pinball party bus event, so maybe that just wasn't the time. But yeah, I did get to go and say hi to Mick on Sunday, and it's just great. I'd love for that to just rock up to somebody's house and then just everybody goes in and plays pinball. It's lots of fun.
Yeah, that was good. Did you play any games on there?
No, because they were setting up at the time. But I got to see, when we talked about the pinball party bus, so many podcast episodes ago, you did talk to me how they had, they'd cut into the ceiling so the head boxes could go up. So I got to see how they did that. I got to see how they actually now fix these machines to the floor of the bus. It's very cool. That's very cool. Yeah. So that was outside. We did have a lot of seminars. We had some seminars on restorations of machines, including EMs, and we actually had people may have heard that there was a retheming of a Stern Meteor for the theme was Mad Max, so they turned it into a Mad Max machine. And there's also a series of pinball machines called Sunset Riders. Now they were originally an 8-ball. So that's the 8-ball that's got the Fonz on the back, well, the likeness of the Fonz. And they've turned it into a surfer theme, and they've used that glitter paint, and there's lots of the wood through the playfield as well. They look spectacular. They really do. And I think they had maybe 2 or 3 of them there.
3.
Yeah. And I got to play them, and they played really well. They've also got custom music in them as well. They were very cool.
Are the rules exactly the same?
Yeah, the rules are exactly the same.
Okay.
So we had Norbert Sticer down on the Saturday. He did one of his seminars on, looking inside the pinball machines and how you repair them. Jeff from Pinball Perfection was there showing off his restorations. And I believe a couple of up-and-comers did a seminar as well. What do you think?
Oh God, I got so much shit about this because did you put your hand up for this, Marty, or did Wayne tell us we have to do it?
Well, he didn't tell us that we had to. He just thought it would be a good thing for the head-to-head guys to do a seminar. So we did, and it was really funny because the week leading up to it, I was extraordinarily busy, not just putting this together, but at work as well. And then on Friday night, when we were putting machines in, you said to me, "So what are we talking about tomorrow?" And I went, I said, I really don't know. But that night when I drove home, it was all I thought about. And so we actually did, and we got a lot of really good feedback, and we had a good group of people that did come and watch us the first day. And so, we really talked about what we go through to produce the podcast each week, which was, I don't know, interesting to some people. We also then talked about, from my point of view, what it was like getting into competition pinball, and then over to you. You talked about?
Yeah, I talked about kind of getting involved in the collector scene through kind of the guy Dave who mentored me through it, and about the possible difficulties to be included in that scene when you kind of don't have any machines and you're just starting out. So it was. There was only a couple of people in there when we started, but by the time we kind of finished, more and more people came. And I don't know, did we have like?
It was a full house. Yeah, absolutely. Standing room only.
Okay.
Is how I'm choosing to remember.
Cheers, encore.
The spotlight was so bright in our eyes, I couldn't see the audience, but, it was pretty packed. But the fun thing that we actually did was we then pulled two people out of the audience, and we had a head-to-head battle. And so I think we may have talked about this. That one person went on your team, one person went on my team. And they played a ball first, we played the second ball, and then we did flipper on the third ball. And the most important thing was that in the spirit of the stream that I do, which is the Melbourne Silver Ball League streaming every Wednesday and Sunday nights, there is a common theme with my streams, and that is that I drink gin, and that I eat chips, and that I have chocolate. So the winner got a bottle of vodka and some chips, and there was also some chocolates to give away. But there was also movie vouchers as well, so it was well worth, if I can really say, it was well worth me beating you.
Well, you beat me on one day, but not the other, right?
On the first day, and the second day.
That's right.
So, and what was really interesting is that the game that it just happened to be in the seminar room we played was Time Warp with the banana flippers.
Well, not only the banana flippers, but it was literally leaning about 5 degrees to the left-hand side.
It had a massive lean to the left.
We didn't bother. We could have fixed it before we started playing. We're like, no, let's just play like this.
It just really didn't matter. We were all going to be playing the same game. But we did it the second day, and it was a game called Silver Slugger. Now, let's just talk about Silver Slugger just for a second, because before we started the seminar, I had never played this game before. It was one of the street level games that Gottlieb released. But I played it and I thought, hang on, this is actually quite a fun game for its era. Now, you can't see my air quotes when I say for its era. So then you had a game and you said almost exactly the same thing, like, this is actually a fun game, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. Well, I just thought it was from a different era than it really was. So, well, this is the first thing you said. I'm like, do you like the game? I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Like, for an early '80s game, like, this is pretty cool. Yeah. And then you shocked me and you said, well, this was released in 1990.
Yeah, well, I had completely forgotten that it was a street level game, because I had actually never seen or played it before. But people played it, and I actually asked the group around us, and I said, what year do you think this was made? And someone said, oh, look, by the look of it, I would have said, maybe 84, 85. And I said, well, it's 1990. And that's okay when you think that it's made in 1990. What other games were released in 1990?
Well, I know. I think Funhouse was 91, but if you compare those two, it's not on the same level at all. The difference is night and day.
Yeah, absolutely. So for historically, when all those games can maybe lumped into the same era, it's okay. But when you compare it to other machines that were released at that same time, I'm just trying to look up some Phantom of the Opera.
It's a bit mean to kind of judge it that way, because I mean, a good game is a good game regardless of when it was released. But I mean, I was kind of saying it was like a good effort, like from machines of that era. This is before I plunged, really, plunged the ball, and I was just kind of looking at it and kind of reading the rule cards. But as we kind of saw, the rules in Gottlieb games were a bit crazy with like the catch-up feature and the unbalanced scoring, and you hold down the flipper and you can just trap the ball at any time you want. Have you found it funny? No.
Say that again.
Have you found any games?
No, I could be bothered. But, just of that time, like late 80s, 90s, so that was the Data East period and Williams and Bally were putting the machines out. And it really was a time of ramps. And it was when rule sets started to get quite deep. Gottlieb at the time decided to release these. They were, as I said before, they were called street level games. And it was their intention to just release flat playfields without any ramps, and I wish I could remember all of them. I know that Hoops was another one, and I've played that, and it's a fun game. I think Title Fight might have also been another one as well. I think there was about 5 or 6 of them that were made, and they are fun games, but they were games sort of lost in time, and they weren't a success for Gottlieb anyway, so obviously it wasn't necessarily a great idea.
When did Gottlieb go under?
Oh, probably after the street level games were made.
Okay.
I think that was where whoever actually came up with that idea, the company just looked and went, "You have just destroyed this company. Thank you."
Let's go back. I guess it'd be almost like Stern saying, "Let's go back to D&Ds now," or something. Like everyone's moved on. Don't go back.
Yeah. You know what? You're absolutely right.
Well, Marty, we met Jack Senior, Jack Junior. We also met another Jack this weekend.
We did. So, as part of the event, we also had a Jersey Jack. Oh, sorry, Jersey Jack. A Jack Sparrow lookalike impersonator. How'd that go?
Well, I think we gave him a bit too much of the spotlight. Well, I say we, I organised it. I didn't even know he was going to come. So he walked in and he had a couple hundred people looking at him, and I don't think he was a comedian. He was just an impersonator. So I think he's meant to kind of mingle with the crowd and just you take a photo with him and whatnot. But you were streaming Pirates of the Caribbean and we gave him kind of a microphone and he was in charge of entertaining us, and he just started off with a horrendously inappropriate joke about waiting for a baby to grow. I'm not even going to mention it.
No, it was. Look, it was interesting to have a Jack Sparrow impersonator there.
It's good for a photo.
It was fun, but it wore thin very quickly.
Well, you can see him on Marty's stream. You can go to the Melbourne Silverball League Twitch page or the YouTube page if he uploads it there, and you can see Jack just talking he was kissing the microphone. He had his lips on it. Did you watch it, Marty?
Yeah, I didn't need to watch it. Everybody was giving me feedback in the chat room in the stream.
Oh no, I said, did you wash it? Because he was like swallowing.
No, at some stage I did say to him, "Hey, can you actually just move away from the microphone?" And then everybody cheered in chat.
Hello, internet. Talk to me. Talk.
Internet thing. Why aren't you talking to me?
Yeah, that was good though. I mean, it was worth it just to get a picture of Jack Sparrow playing Pirates of the Caribbean, right?
Well, absolutely. And it was also worthwhile getting a picture of Jack, and Jack.
That's right, triple Jacks.
The triple Jack. So shall we then talk about Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yes, Marty. What did you think of it?
Okay, so it was really interesting. So the first time we played it when we were setting up, it wasn't leveled properly. So it was a bit flat, and I just thought to myself, it's a bit floaty, and everybody talked about how it's a wide body, but it's got all this speed, and I didn't feel it. But the next morning when we did level it, and it was up where it needed to be, probably at the 6.5 mark, it played really, really well. And I was fortunate because I was streaming for, I don't know, maybe the first 3.5, 4 hours of the day, and then a couple of hours the day after. I got to play it quite a lot. I would have had, maybe 30 or 40 games. So I probably played it more than anybody in Australia at this stage.
Oh, VIP Marty.
There you go.
What was your highest score though, bro? Did you get a higher score than me?
My highest score was 40,000.
Well, mine was about 75. So take that, Marty. Take that.
There you go. And you can have before I really do give my over, because as I said, it was sort of my thoughts on it went up and down the more I played it, and you know,
is this the whole flip flopping thing?
It kind of is. I flip flopped the entire time I was there on this. It's a fantastic game. It really is a fantastic game, and it is fast. We've talked about the fact that it's still really early code. But also to note that we actually had, the designer Eric Minier and I can't remember the name, Joe, who's one of the Joe Katz, who's one of the coders. They were there in chat, so that was really good because we were giving them feedback on the machine. They were telling us about the rules, but I think what was really important is that they got to actually see for, as I said, probably 3.5 hours. They got to see people playing it. Now, probably at Chicago Expo, you did have, because it was on the Brody Even Pinball stream, hi guys, you had a lot of really good players on it. So, Kevin and Nick are really good players. They had, all the people, they had the Slam Tilt guys with them as well.
Steve Bowden
was there as well. So they actually had really good players. I'm not saying that we didn't, but we had the general public. We had a lot of people that were there just to buy the machine. So they really got to observe the general public and how they approach the game and how they play the game. And they were calling out mostly push the button to get the gold. Because a lot of people were missing the fact that you had to push the button to get the gold.
Yep.
And so we ended up being there pushing the gold for people.
Oh, yeah. And I couldn't tell if I was annoying people by collecting their gold for them, but I did it anyway because that's me.
That's what you do.
Yes.
So in true Jersey Jack form, let's say Keith Johnson form, the rules are not all that accessible, meaning you kind of got to know what you're doing. They don't really leap out at you. Not like Dialed In does. Dialed In really spells out what you're going to do. Yeah, I think so. It tells you, shoot the left ramp, shoot the right ramp, shoot the left orbit. It shoot the theater. It's telling you what to do.
Okay.
But this is still early code, right? So it's still 20-30%. So there's a lot of code there. And you can. What I really like is that you can actually choose to play it different ways. You can either go for the two lock shots next to the chest and then up the chest to start the dead man's chest multi-ball, or you can get it up the right ramp up to the rocking boat to then go through the spinners to then open up the cannon and then shoot the ship. You can do it that way, or you can try to collect gold to then get Tortuga multi-ball. So I really like the fact that there's multiple ways to approach the game.
So, what's your overall, you've said a lot of stuff, but do you like it, Marty, or not?
Well, I want to hear what your thoughts are on the machine before we give a verdict.
Okay, so just to reiterate what Marty said, we were helping set up machines on Friday night. We'll get a couple of my machines in there, and we played a couple of games, not too many, on Pirates, and I got really nervous because the game we played was absolutely nothing like the game we saw on the stream.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to really mess with the machine and touch settings that like the boat wasn't rocking as much, and we didn't know if it was a mechanical issue, but we didn't, as I said, this is not our machine. We didn't want to muck around with it. I went home and I emailed Eric, and this is the cool thing about Jersey Jack is you can, don't go and do it, please. Don't go and but, I emailed Eric and I asked him about what settings he was using, what pitch it was set up at, and as I said, we kind of used those settings to set up the machine the next morning, and Eric also kindly sent me an update. He kind of just finished doing an update, 0.11. So the machines, I think at Expo were 0.10. So that kind of gives you an idea of where they think the machine is at, and how much, because there really is. This is a prototype machine. You have to remember this, guys. Stern, don't even show prototype machines. They show a machine, and then maybe 2 months later, when they think it's kind of at the right level, they will, present the machine to the public through a stream, through a kind of like a controlled environment where they've got a certain amount of people playing the games. Whereas this truly is a prototype. The ramps aren't final, the toys aren't final. The ramps are kind of like a vacuum formed. You can see they just kind of drilled out the hole. They're not laser cut or anything. So you got to remember that when you're playing the game. And
yeah, but still, for a prototype in capitals, there's a lot of rules there. There's great shots there.
And the machine is reliable. Did it break down the entire day? No, nothing at all. Unlike Alien.
Well, the chest stopped working.
Yeah, but that is probably just something very, very small.
Oh, yeah,
we didn't. That was after the second day, and we didn't even bother.
Nobody opened up the machine and fixed anything. It was just as is. But everything else worked. It was great. It was solid.
It's still lock balls. It's still release balls. Yep. So the chest opening is purely just like a show off thing. It's not like Aerosmith where you need the chest to open to load balls.
No, that's exactly right.
So everything mechanically worked fine. Just in case, I don't think they announced this on the stream and throughout Expo, but there was like a bug where when you hit the pop bumpers, the sound clip that plays when you hit the pop bumpers, which it plays a lot because, bang, 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 ding, ding in the pop bumpers, was about like 5 times louder than any other sound in the game.
Does it go ding, ding?
No, it's like this pirates cheering. It's like your ears.
It was so loud.
It was worse than the Daleks. It made me almost want to walk away from the game because I'm the kind of guy who gets like, I'm sensitive to sound, right?
It was almost as bad as the Jack Sparrow impersonator.
Okay, that bad. So don't judge the machine on that because that's already fixed. I said this is a very early code. So what I think of the machine, I mean, we talked about how much stuff is in the machine. There's like 3 pinballs worth of machine in there, right? But there are 2 different layouts there. There is a pinball machine inside the center, right? So your 2 flippers down in the middle. You got the center shot, which includes the spinning disc in the middle, the upper left flipper, the chest, the little Star Child area, I'm going to call it, the chapter select, the orbit, the Fountain of Youth shot, the map, and there's the targets, the goal targets. There's a whole pinball machine there. Like that is a pinball machine. And then outside of that, you've got the other side of the pinball machine. You've got the left ramp, the right ramp to the upper play fields, the left orbit, and the right orbit with the pop bumpers. So a lot of people, if you watch the stream and even the initial stream, a lot of people are favoring that first pinball machine in the middle. And, besides the upper play field, which people shoot a lot, that the pop bumper shot, no one goes for that. The left ramp with the whirlpool, no one goes for that. The orbit, no one goes for that because it's too risky and it's too kind of wide out there, and it's not, it's not inviting enough, and it's a riskier shot, right? When you get the ball up in the middle, if you shoot through the chest, you get this nice feed. That's almost like a safe zone. I guess the only non-safe part of it is that the ball's going to come back straight down the middle, so you're at risk of draining. But I think through the code, they really have to make I sound like a bit of an asshole saying that the second pinball machine, because it really feels like that to me. Like, you have to invite people to play that part of the pinball machine. Otherwise, it doesn't need to be a wide body, right? Like, you don't need to have that left orbit and that left whirlpool ramp. I know I'm being silly because every mode requires you to hit certain shots, but because the chapters are fairly basic, you finish a mode by hitting 3 shots and it gives you like 3,000 points. So as I said, the code is very early. It hasn't been fleshed out. The wheel spins around, which I think is very cool. It doesn't really award you anything. It doesn't when it stops, it doesn't do anything. I think the layout is good. I think the layout is solid.
Yes.
And these days, that's almost all you need in a Jersey Jack game because the code is going to come. So I think it's too early to judge, but the layout gets a tick for me. And
I agree, except one part of the layout. And you couldn't really call it the layout, but it's one part for me that I think they could tone down a bit, and that are those spinning discs. I think that and it was probably the biggest feedback that I got from just about everybody, was saying that it does randomize the gameplay just a little bit too much. And we were having, again, we're talking the general public, so we were having a lot of short ball times.
Well, yeah, I enjoyed the short ball times because more people got to play it.
Yeah, I loved it, right?
Yeah, no, it's the ball times were short, but I don't think you can attribute it just to the spinning disc, because if you rewatch the stream, well, I haven't rewatched it, but just from seeing people, most of the drains kind of came from just general, sucking at pinball and not playing better. But I don't know, I kind of like the discs, and as I said, they will, once they award stuff, they will stop. I'm not sure what's going to trigger it to stop. I'll have to listen back to the Buffalo Pinball podcast. It was quite funny because I was kind of seeing the pinball machine for the first time, and I was, people were sitting there with me like Eddie, and we were dissecting the rules and we're trying to figure out what's going on. And it's funny because I went back today and I watched just like 5 minutes of the Buffalo stream, and all the stuff that we were figuring out and we got right, it might have taken like 5 minutes to kind of like hit the shots and figure out. It was all explained by Eric and Keith in the stream. It's just I don't listen to all that stuff.
No,
when I haven't played the game, because it doesn't make sense to me unless it's in front of me.
No, but I as you know, I don't like spoilers as well. And when it comes to a new machine, I kind of was sort of blocking that stuff up. I want to actually go to a machine and play it and learn as I go. I don't like to be told. I actually like to experience and work it out, because then I get a feel for what I'm doing and what I'm exploring. So,
yeah.
And by the end of the 2 days, I knew exactly what I needed to do, and I knew exactly why things were lit up a certain way. But just going back to that point you mentioned about, inviting people to the other parts of the playfield. It doesn't mean that they are, when they're developing code, that they are, developing all aspects of the playfield at the same time. So it may actually be that they are just fine-tuning the middle section of the playfield, and then that the left maelstrom ramp may actually play a greater part at a later stage. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Well, they said they're not idiots. They're definitely going to incorporate all parts of the playfield, because what I discovered on the Buffalo stream is that the map on the screen represents the 5 multi-balls from each movie. Now, they not only represent that, and they're not randomly kind of placed. The leftmost part of the map is the Devil's Triangle, and that's your progress on the left orbit. So it's in the kind of the right position so that you can kind of So that whole left shot, which I don't think I think I saw maybe 2 or 3 people hit that spinner shot. If you don't hit that shot, you're not starting one of the multi-balls, which I'm sure it will be a requirement for progress through the game. So they'll get there software wise, and I look forward, now that it's in Australia, to kind of like, see it grow, and hopefully I can stream it with you. I can be there. You choose me as your stream partner.
Yeah, we'll see how we go. But also another thing that happened there was we managed to get, as we said before, an interview with Jack himself. And we asked him some questions. It was originally he was going to do a talk himself, but I'm
not finished talking about the machine though, mate. I want to say a couple more things.
Okay, go.
All right. One of the things that I want to talk about is collecting gold. Right? Did you like collecting gold, Marty? No,
I didn't at all.
Okay, I didn't like collecting gold either. Right? Until I chose one of the English dudes. I can't remember his name, but he gets way more gold than everyone else.
Yep.
So I enjoy collecting it then, because before it was like 3 gold comes up and you're like bang, 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 and then 1 more comes up, and it feels like you're grinding towards the Tuga multi-ball. But with that character that like I got there on the first ball, and I probably should have kept on collecting golds to build up the value, but I didn't. I emailed Eric afterwards and I said, hey, it might be really cool if there was a character that, choose the character that loves gold the most, and he will automatically collect gold for you. Like, would that be a good perk that part of the whole, gets automatically done? And he was like, well, funny you say that. We've been talking about that, but we won't make it automatic. We'll make it that no matter how much gold is there for this certain player, I'm not sure who it's going to be, you just press the button once and it'll
collects everything.
Everything. So, Yeah, as I said, this is going to be good. And I only discovered the guy that collects a lot of gold because someone chose my character. I was playing the eyeball character dude that you get an extra ball when you get up on the
guy from
playfield.
The Office. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the guy from the
Mackenzie Crook is his name. There you go.
You've done your research, Marty.
No, I just know him from The Office.
Okay. Wait, is that the UK Office or
Yes,
the
it's
American
the UK Office?
The better one.
Yes, agreed.
The one that never jumped a shark.
Correct.
Yeah, so I was playing him every single time until I played a 4-player game and I was last, and someone took that guy. So Eric is right. Like when you're forced to play someone else, you discover more of the game, which I thought was really good. One last thing I want to talk about, Matt, before we go into the Jack interview.
Go.
How did you feel with the whole movie integration? Like, did you feel like you were a part of the Pirates of the Caribbean universe when you were playing?
If I'm really honest, probably somewhat. I think somewhat. If we're talking about on a scale of 1 to 5,
like sound
one being
visual.
not at all, 2 being not really, 3 being, I would say I would give it a right in the middle, meaning I knew that I was in the Pirates of the Caribbean world, but nothing really leapt out to me that I was part of these movies like The Hobbit did. But remember, it's early code. They may put it in. But I think you're asking that question because you may feel the same in that it felt more like just a general pirate thing.
Yeah. I feel that way. And even though you've got this, I think the rules integration is like, the base work they've got there is spot on. But the audio and visual side of things, I think they're doing the best with what they, with what they've got. And, but I don't think they've got as much as we thought they might have, because I didn't hear the Pirates of the Caribbean thing once, which I'm pretty sure means they don't have the rights to it.
Well, you weren't there in the second session of Jersey Jack. There you go. I've just dobbed you into the world. And someone did actually ask that question. And what he said was they didn't really want to have the same music that was in the original Stern. They didn't want to have similarities. That's what he said. So
that is
didn't say they didn't have the rights. He just said that they don't want to use it because
they don't want to.
But he said that there is music and it's still to be integrated.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, this is David Thiel. He is the master of sound. We'll talk about Alien in a sec. After the interview, so in half an hour or so. But we'll talk about Alien and how he is the master of, I think, drawing you in with what he has available. But I think these chapters are called chapters and not modes because you're not going to have a unique sound and call outs and parts from that scene. It's literally you start the scene and you click the characters that are involved in that scene, and I think there'll be a lot of repeated music because I don't think there's going to be 105 different themes playing in the background when you're playing different modes. That's all I want to say on it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Again, it's one of these things. It's hard to know because it's still so early in the piece. So adding clips or adding music will be one of the last things that they do. Potentially.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And we talk about it with Dialed In as well. They finish it and they keep on going. So, don't judge the machine on what it is now. It won't be its final form.
Well, and I know other people have said this before. You can still judge a game by what you play because that's all you can. And if I'm judging this game now on what they're saying is about 20 to 30% through, I cannot wait to see when this is 100%. Because that little code that's in there is already bloody good for a prototype.
Yep. Double ticks.
Absolutely. So, we are now going to, after some serious editing and sound balancing that I'll need to do, we're going to play the interview with Jersey Jack and with Jersey Jack Jr.
First, I just want to welcome everybody here. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. It's really nice for us to be here. We flew halfway around the world this morning. Right? We got off the plane about 8:30 in the morning. Everyone's still actually alive and well right now. I still have some energy. Still here. So, this is my son Jack. Not really the Jersey Jack. So he came he came to do some service things and talk about service parts of the game and things like that. We'll get to that. So that's a little bit of that. So how proud I am. We have a great team, and they work relentlessly on something. They don't accept anything. They like to create new assets, even though we're giving great assets. Things like, you know what Jack Sparrow looks like on the game, but our artists, they painted over those images that were provided to us, and they created new assets that enhance the characters and the images on our game to make it original for us.
And so obviously what we've noticed with the machine, and I know Eric's been interviewed as well, is how there is so much that is packed into that machine. Most people, I guess the word is that it is now setting the bar to a high standard. Did you set out to do that with this machine?
The company was founded on having innovative, technologically groundbreaking, mechanical action pinball machines married to new and innovative electronics and technology. And every one of our games, when I get to see now 4 different games all standing next to each other, I don't see one better than the other. I see them as being different than each other. I see them as being very complementary of each other. They make a nice collection, all 4 of them, I think. And each one has something different about it that was very unique when we created it. It wasn't long ago that pinball machines had light bulbs. We take it for granted. Today, it's kind of funny, it's only a few years later, Wizard of Oz was the first pinball machine to use all LEDs and RGB LEDs and everything, 138 of them. So today, we kind of look at some games and we say, well, it has a monitor, even the monitor. So all the different things on Pirates of the Caribbean, that amazing rocking playfield, the concentric discs that are spinning, all the other things going on. Every game we want to be really innovative.
With you always said you set out to kind of raise the bar and where do you see pinball in the next couple of years? I mean, what more? Do you think there's a limit to what you can do with the current system? Obviously you don't want to change it too much, pinball 2000 style, but do you see machines in the future being a bit different than...
The funny thing about the future, I look at this amazing timeline that somebody created. Who created that on the wall? It's really... Who did that?
I did it last night.
You did it last night? That's right. You look at the timeline of pinball and you look at all the innovations, and you look at all those creative people, designers and engineers, and that thing's going to just keep going. Whether we do it or not, certainly we want to be a big part of it, but other people will be part of it. Pinball is going to keep innovating because the people that love it want to keep adding to it, right, and changing it. And technology changes, and it gives us the ability to do really cool things. The first time last year when we were at the amusement park show, and we stood there with a cell phone a few feet away from the game, and we were flipping the flippers and shooting the ball, and people coming over where are the strings or the wires, and how are you doing that stuff? So I think a lot of it can happen under the glass, and I think we could create a lot of things to happen outside of under the glass through technology. So we'll keep showing you what we have in mind.
So probably to Jack Jr.
Oh boy.
Here we go. So Jack and the team are there to push the boundaries of what people can do. You've got to make the machines. So are you happy about them pushing things that you then got to make?
Absolutely. I mean, it's an honor to work on these games every day, and it's just great to be a part of it, be part of the team, and it's fun. I get to look at the same games every day, and that is what it is, but I love it. Some different ones. It varies from the days, but I enjoy it.
So what sort of input do you have when they're designing the pinball on how it's actually going to be manufactured?
Well, hopefully I get some insight on building it and how to put it together easier for the factory, because that's where I am. That's my primary focus. I'm out in New Jersey in the factory. So
whatever helps get the game off the line quicker and better for me and all the other people that work in that building, because we're just as important as the people that design the game.
Great.
What was it like working with Disney? Because as we kind of discussed the other day on our podcast, there's the Pirates of the Caribbean that was created over 10 years ago. They had difficulties using the word jackpot because that word wasn't around during the time period of that Pirates of the Caribbean was set at. But Eric was able to convince them that it should be allowed. So, do you have any other stories or any other things you want to talk about in regards to working with the licensor?
Well, I think anybody that owns intellectual property is very protective of it, especially if it has a good value or a perceived value, even if it's not a great property. Certainly Disney is no less protective of their assets than Warner Brothers was or anybody else would be. And look, they may not know pinball, and they may not know how the assets you want to use from them will be used in what context. And a lot of it is just explaining what you want to do and how you want to do it and how that fits to make sense in the use of the property. Once it's really explained, most of all the licensors, listen, they want the best product. They want the greatest representation of their property. So, if you can explain that and make it make sense, then you win. If you are just taking it and pasting it in a way and maybe mixing it with other characters that don't make sense, or I don't know, whatever example you can come up with, then a licensor might object to how you use it. So I think really it's a 50-50 kind of thing. You really need to explain what you're doing, and then you win it. Jackpot, the word wasn't used, but we need pinball words and pinball language, right? Because it may not be contained in a movie when somebody says jackpot or extra ball, all other pinball language. So you make that point, and thank goodness, they get it, and you make a great product.
So we've now seen Pirates of the Caribbean a year after Dialed In. We're assuming that there's going to now be that rhythm of machines each year. We assume. You can confirm or deny. Do you think that is probably going to be the ongoing interval for you, is every 12 months, or do you think that will be contracted? Or
So, again, it's been an ongoing process, right? The first game took longer, the second game took longer, the third game took a little bit less, the fourth game took a little bit less, because we'll be building this game, looks like, in February, March. Whereas with Dialed In, we're in the second quarter. This game, we should be in the first quarter. So, personally, ideally, I'd love to see one game every 9 months. But we're not going to compromise what the game is because we want it to come out in 9 months and somebody's just going to wave and say, oh, it's done, get it out of the building. We want to ship code-complete games that are really great. And it takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and money, and certainly time is one of those things that you need to put into it. It would be equal to a chef making a meal and taking it out of the oven before it's cooked. There's a time when these things are done, and they need to give them what they need to be great. So. Yeah, I think one a year is great. I think one every 9 months might be perfect in my mind in the marketplace. Today there are a lot of choices that people have with different games. So, just save you money and hold on to some of the Jersey Jack product. That's for sure. That's what I would tell you to do. Get a second job.
Talking about money, you've got 3 different models. And if you kind of read the feedback with, like on Pinside in stark contrast with Dialed In, everyone kind of seemed to be cheering you on and saying, wow, Jersey Jack has kind of turned the corner in my eyes and no more of Company X and Company Y or all that Jersey Jack now. And then after a couple of days, the only negative thing that people seem to be talking about is the price. And obviously there's, 2 or 3 machines worth of content in one Jersey Jack machine, but would you ever consider stripping down a model in the future to make the machines more accessible to people in different financial bracket?
Well, so a few things about that. So everybody would love to have a Ferrari for 20 grand. And it's probably not going to happen.
You can if you're in America.
Yeah, I mean, the elusive thing that every manufacturer needs to do is to have a product that they want to aim for a certain market, and then they need to set a price, and they need to make a profit, right? So, to the first part of your question, should we make a game in that price range with that little amount of fun built into the game? So, I don't know, my silly answer might be, well, there are already games like that, so why would I want to make those? That might be my silly answer. My real answer would be that we're at a different standard, we're at a different level than a lot of other products out there. We have a customer base that loves what we do. We have a customer base that price, while it's important, we believe we're giving value for the money in the product. I know operators, and so I'm an operator, and I have a lot of operator friends, they're pretty much in agreement now. The guys that are starting to and have been operating our games, the game costs more, but the game makes more. So my old saying from years ago, doesn't matter what the game costs, it matters what the game makes. You could put a pinball machine on location that costs $5,000, maybe it'll make $100 a week. You could put one of our games on location that's $7 or $8 grand, and it makes $300-400 a week. So you might have a better return on investment. You might have better value for the game when you're ready to take it off the route. So we've, not just because I've said it, but we've proven it through how we build things. So in the scheme of things, I'd love to have a game that was, less costly, but I think there have been experiments that other pinball companies have done to say, if we made a game for $39.99, we'll sell thousands of games. And, it was found out that that's not true. It's not only about the money, it's about what the game is. So you have a sophisticated customer base of collectors that know what they want, and then you have a sophisticated base of amusement operators that know what they want too. It's two different things. They're concerned about what goes in the cash box, and collectors are concerned about different things. So we try to make a great product for the whole market at a price that our buyers feel is worth the money.
Okay, so just on to then the new machine again, so Pirates of the Caribbean. And in particular, the designer. So we've heard some interviews about Eric as well and heard his story. What made you think that this young guy in our industry, who's not designed a pinball machine before, could actually design the next level of pinball machine for you?
Isn't it weird that my ringtone is a pinball machine, right? How many people here have a ringtone as a pinball machine? Everybody. Of course. So, Eric, and we kind of talked about it a little bit. I guess we'll talk about it a little bit more because, he's in the spotlight now, and rightfully so. I hired him before he graduated college, and he was overqualified. The story, him and his dad and his brother, they sat in the front row at the Midwest Gaming Classic in 2012, and he gave me his resume, and he was going to school for electrical engineering and robotics degree, mechanical engineering, and I said, so you're going to come work for my company. That's great. I don't want to wreck this kid's future because, again, you have a startup company, and certainly I believe that the company is going to be successful, but listen, let's face it, if anybody started a business, there's a certain amount of pressure, real and implied, when people coming into the company, you want them to have a future, especially somebody young, graduating college, just like even my kids that came to join the company. So, I sent him to the office in Illinois that we had then. He was interviewed by the people that worked there. Maybe they were busy, they didn't get back to him in a couple of weeks, and he sent me an email, nobody got back to me kind of thing. And I hired him, and I did it while he was still in school. I did it because I liked him a lot, and I did it because I didn't want to wait till he graduated college and he got a different job, and I lost him. I probably didn't make every decision correctly in doing this thing from the beginning, but with people, you have to really have a sense of what they can do in the future, and they have to have that sense for themselves, or else they won't be successful. Eric certainly believed in himself, and he still does. And, coming from a game family where he played games, he repaired games, his dad's an operator, his brother's in the industry, I said, here's somebody who has the electrical knowledge, the mechanical knowledge, the player knowledge, the service knowledge. And I said to him kind of at the beginning, I think before I hired him, I said, you have the ingredients to become a really good game designer. So I saw that in him. And really last week, in a selfish way for me personally, and I don't get that way often, it was a great validation of what I believed to see it happen. Because a lot of times I picture something done and it's not done, and then there it is last week, and that's just the beginning. So it was really cool. I know for him, certainly, and for everybody that saw the game and played the game, and for me in a personal way, it was really very satisfying because the industry needs young people to come into it, and we need young designers with ideas and technological, electronic, electrical, and game design background to do it. And those people aren't really born; they're built. He kind of got born into the industry, but we gave him an opportunity, and I don't take credit for that. He gets the credit for that because he rose to the occasion and he put the work in and he put the time in. And this first game looks like it's really great.
How long will it actually develop? The whole process for Pirates?
I would say about 18 months. And I'll include a little bit of time for like the next month to finish off some of the things that you find out from Expo. Maybe you have a ball hang up or something doesn't shut the right way or open the right way or tweak something. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, nobody, before last week, nobody outside the company played that game. It wasn't on a location somewhere. I mean, back in the day, when you look at all these games, even in the 90s, in the early 2000s, a manufacturer could put a game on a location in the middle of nowhere and probably nobody would find the game. Now I would venture to say if we put that game anywhere, there would be, 100 people all over playing it, so you're not getting a real true test of how the game is going to work, or ball times and things like that. So we have to do a lot of things internally now to test it. But certainly Expo, coming to shows like this, other shows around the world, we beat the crap out of those games to make sure they're right before we build them and ship them to you.
This is probably a two-part question. So now that you have Eric on your design team making games, and obviously you still have some work to do with Pirates and fine-tuning things, and then you also have Pat Lawler as well. So is the plan moving forward to just alternate them between games, or one game on, one game off? And the second part of the question is, I started a read a couple of days ago because I knew we were going to be interviewing you. This is a question from Tacos Are Good. That's his name. How big is your software coding team now compared to what it was when you started?
Well, it's 6 times bigger than it was before. So that's why we can tell you that, we're sending out these great games code complete because there are a lot more people working on code. I don't have to tell you that one of our games is not just doing a pinball machine. You're looking at an amazing amount of audio that's done on these games, an amazing amount of light shows, an amazing amount of video assets and work go into them. The rule programming. Probably if we step back 5 years, it's probably like one of our games is probably like 4 or 5 games easily, maybe more. The guys, the software guys can tell you, but I think so. I mean, Hobbit, on how that I think, one multi-ball is probably somebody else's whole entire game. So I don't say it in a nasty way, it's just an unbelievable amount of work that goes into those games. So as far as designers, I'd like to create another designer, in the company, another young person to develop. Another person. But, again, it's not like you could say, let's add a designer from somewhere, because, we all know where they are, we all know who they are, and there's not many of them, really, you can count them on a couple of hands. So it's hard to expand a product and a base when seemingly it was always very small. And there are a lot of people out there that are interested in designing pinball machines. There are a lot of people out there designing pinball machines. You can see just by a lot of the boutique projects and things like that. The next great designers might be people that are working on games like that.
So with Eric, and he's talked about his journey, obviously, and the fact that Pat helped him do, learning how to engineer and build some of the materials. How much do you think of this journey was Eric versus the team around him, sort of guiding him to become a great designer?
Well, the support was there. Everybody was supporting him. I think Eric had a lot of his own ideas of what he wanted to do. As players, we probably all look at games and we want to take elements from different games and we have ideas for different things. And if somebody told you had a blank canvas to make something, that's a great opportunity, right? So I think the game came out very original. We're only done 4 games, but we haven't recycled anything game to game. Everything is unique, and I think we're going to keep doing that. And the challenge is for us to keep doing that and make better and better games. So I think Pat feels that challenge working on his next game. I think, in the next few weeks, maybe a month or so, Eric will be into his next game. So, they're just going to keep doing that stuff.
Is Eric's game an original thing or a licensed property?
Eric's next game?
Yes.
It'll be a license.
So this is a question from Coops Loves Games.
What is the game, right?
Yeah, right. I have no idea. That's
I'm sure it's coming up at some point.
Don't tell anyone. We've got a secret. Where are you at on your plans? Because you've talked about it before, making your games internet connected so that you can load up your Jersey Jack app and you can find your nearest game. You can run local competitions through the app, high scores against friends. You talked about it before that it might be a possibility in the future. Are there still plans for that?
Yeah, we're in the process of doing those things, building out the app, and really seeing what we can add to it that brings fun to the game, right? And also value to games on a commercial location. So I would look for more of that in the near and in the distant future, because it adds to the player base. I mean, how cool is it to interact with the game or interfere with other players, with glass on, or maybe play a tournament, or collect redemption points in an app kind of thing. So there's a lot of things that could be done that are real for today, that not things that you just dream about that you can never do 10 years from now. They can happen pretty quickly.
So from a manufacturer perspective, is your now build cycle to make these machines quicker than what it was because you now know how to make machines better and quicker than you did? Or is it still the same?
No, it's quicker because everybody and everything, really needs to learn from mistakes, right? So, I still think we're making a very complicated piece of equipment. I joke, we were building washing machines, we designed a washing machine. It would work. You test it, and you'd probably build that same exact washing machine for, for the next 10 to 20 years. What needs to be engineered, what needs to be changed, right? We're throwing away about 80% of the last game and making a new game every time. I guess it would be better if we threw away 20% of it and redid 20%. It's not really the formula that we do. I don't know that anybody says, okay, let's throw away 80% of the last game and let's do it. I mean, you would think that legs on a pinball machine would be common, or other parts of the game would be common. But, when you go and you look at all of our games, there are a lot of things that are, common parts between them, but maybe like the ball. And there are a lot of parts of the game that are absolutely different and re-engineered and changed and modified and brought up to what that particular designer wants to do. So it does get a little bit easier. It does.
It's a question from Reddit user Alliterator. This is my last question from you, Tim.
It's all right.
Besides lack of
I'm here all day.
besides lack of natives with prior experience, do you see anything preventing pinball from taking off in countries like Japan, so to speak, who are kind of video crazed, but there doesn't seem to be a big pinball presence there?
Besides, what was the beginning of that question?
Besides natives, people that live there with lack of previous experience. So besides that, what do you think is stopping pinball from expanding to different countries?
I was in Poland last month. They had a pinball open, and I was never in Poland. I don't know much about Poland. I know a lot more about Poland now. I know there are hundreds of people that love pinball there. Maybe it's not as rich a country as Germany, but there are very passionate people there that want pinball. I went to the Krakow Pinball Museum. Who knew there was one? I went to the Warsaw Pinball Station, and it's growing. Japan, I don't know enough about the market. People talk about pinball in China, people talk about pinball in Japan, all these countries. I guess if the people discover that it's really fun to play pinball, we're going to get pinball machines in there. People say, oh, in Japan they have no room, they're building buildings on top of people. I don't know, I'm a New Yorker. There's no room there either. We have customers that have 4 games in their kitchen and they don't have a table. So, I guess if there's a will, there's a way. If you want to put a pinball machine, you're going to put a pinball machine somewhere. So, do you have to make a theme that appeals to Chinese people or Japanese people? Maybe. I don't know. You have an Australian guy that's planning on making some kind of folklore theme for a pinball machine to break it into China. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Okay, well, I heard that. I was at a seminar in Vancouver. Yeah, so, people laughed at me too. So I wish them luck. I hope they get it now, because if that works, I'll be right in there right after him making something about Chinese folklore. I'll read up on that and I'll make a story like that. Bruce Lee might work, yeah.
You might not be able to answer this question.
Okay.
But, and it's fine, are there any themes that you've tried to obtain and it's absolutely impossible? Like you're maybe on the cusp of getting it, or you put a bid in for it and the licensor is absolutely not interested in pinball?
Yeah, there are themes like that. People have spoken about different ones and talked about them. I think just in general, you need to, our games especially, when you have a very rich part of the game, which is this big HD LCD video screen, numerous video screens, in the playfield and in the back box. You need to have assets that you can put into that, and you need to have something to work around with sound, and certainly you wouldn't want to get, not that I tried to get it, but you wouldn't want to get a theme like James Bond if you weren't able to use Daniel Craig, let's say, something like that. So if certain licenses, they don't own the assets to the actors, and you need to go negotiate with different actors, it probably is out of the range of somebody doing a pinball machine, unless the pinball machine was, a really high price to make up for a license. So things like that. I steer around. There's probably not a week that goes by where somebody that owns some kind of intellectual property doesn't email or call me and say, gee, wouldn't this make a great pinball machine? And today, I was at the show and like 7 people gave me 12 different ideas for pinball machines. So it's...
Were 11 of them Harry Potter?
11 of them were Harry Potter, and I think there was one other one for some boxing guy or something like that. Or karate guy or something. But look, there's nothing is a bad idea. And I think, the themes of a game, I'll just touch on it for a minute because it was brought up at the show. Last year I was here in December with Dialed In. Dialed In, we know, is not a license. It's original intellectual property. And, I believe that it would be a big hit of a game, and it's become a big hit of a game. But it didn't start as a big hit of a game. You had people who didn't like the name, they didn't like this, they didn't like that. And I remember when I went to a show and I saw a game called Pac-Man. I thought that was a ridiculous name. And I went to another show and I saw a game called Donkey Kong. So, well, that's a ridiculous name. And of course, I played the games and they're spectacular games. So the name of the game really didn't matter. So a year ago, we could have called the game anything and there would have been pushback because it wasn't something that was known. And I spent a year and about 100,000 miles traveling around the world, and Dialed In is a success because Pat Lawler and the team made a great game. And you have to step out of a comfort zone once in a while to do a game like that. I don't know when we'll do another original theme. We might do one sooner than later or later than sooner. I don't know yet. But I'm real happy we did it. And the game is awesome. It shoots great, plays great, it's funny. It's everything I hoped it could be. So now fast forward a year, and last week, I know before Expo, there were people that actually said to me, I don't think that Pirates of the Caribbean theme is going to be really good. People said that to me. They said that to me. And I said, yeah. Why? I don't know. It's been done before. And, you kind of said you weren't going to do what's been done before. And I don't know, that guy Eric, he's a young guy. And what's he really going to do? What does he know? He never designed a game before. And I said, okay, well, that's good. Because I knew what was coming. And last week we showed the game. I would say it in a mild way, we probably surprised some people. So the theme is an amazing license, is an amazing license. I love that license. I loved it from back in 2006 when the first game was made. And yeah, you know what? I said that we were never going to do the same thing again. And that game was never made before. That's for sure. No game like that was made before. And Eric, him and the team knocked it out of the park.
At what stage through the 18 months did you know that you had something great?
I don't want to say that. I tell you what, Eric was spitballing ideas in the beginning, and the direction he was going when he was talking to me, I thought it was really great. Because he was coming up with original ideas. And I think that's where you have to start. And Pat Lawler, he might have played a part in talking to Eric about certain things, but Pat would be the first to tell you that that's not his game, and he wouldn't look for any credit or anything like that, even though he's definitely part of the team. It's like, if you pitch in a baseball game, I know you guys don't have much baseball, but I'm thinking of the Yankees tonight. So, if you have a pitcher and he's in the bullpen and there's another pitcher up there, he doesn't hope that pitcher gets knocked out of the game and he goes in there. Everybody's rooting for, everybody's cheering each other on. So, that's what it is.
All right, that's all we've got time for. So thank you, everybody.
All right.
Jack.
So there you go. That was the interview with Jack. A little bit of Jack Jr. there as well, and hopefully you got to hear some of it. We're going to insert this after we record tonight, but hopefully you'll be able to hear most of that interview.
Yep. And thanks to everyone on Reddit that contributed to the questions, and we're lucky that we got to ask them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what do you think were the main takeouts there?
Well, I wasn't aware that because Jack had tossed up in the past about if they would do a unlicensed theme again after Dialed In, and I guess number 6 isn't going to be one. And I don't know, I feel bad talking to Jack about future titles because he was there to promote Pirates of the Caribbean, and but he knows that. I mean, people, it's the number one question: what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? So he's used to it by now. He's a professional in answering those questions. But yeah, number 6 will be a licensed property.
Yeah, we're not saying it's Toy Story.
Number 6, not number 5.
What are we up to? Oh, number 5. Yeah, so what he's actually said is that I think number 5, number 6, and number 7, and possibly even number 8 are all going to be licensed themes. So that
really
seems to be the thing. Yeah, that's what he said. Someone also asked, whether he was going to do a... and this wasn't recorded. This was in the seminar on the second day, which we didn't record. Someone asked him whether he would do a band theme, and they weren't quite so sure what he meant. Someone said, well, will you do Guns N' Roses? And he sort of laughed it off. But, I think he said that he would like to do a band theme, but I think if you look at the first 4 machines, I don't know whether a band theme would be fitting within the themes that we're already seeing with Jersey Jack.
Yeah, and I guess licensing would almost be the hardest, well, not the hardest part of the job, because you have to make a pinball machine with a million moving parts and pieces, but it's I guess the hardest initial step, because it's one, you have to make sure you get a theme that everyone likes, and then 2, you have to get a theme that no one has already. Stern seemed to be gobbling up a lot of themes that are very popular in today's culture. And then you have to make sure that the theme you get has all the assets included that you need.
So, yeah.
So he touched on the whole James Bond thing, if you can hear it in the interview, saying that, obviously they made inquiries about it, but, certain assets aren't available. And if he's going to make a general James Bond theme, if he can't get Daniel Craig, then, does he want to make a James Bond film just, with a classic Bond, since Daniel Craig is Bond for the 21st century watchers.
Yeah, and he was also saying that, he wanted to do at some stage, I don't know whether he's still planning on doing it, what was it with Marlon Brando? The Godfather. But what he was saying is that, with the Godfather license, you get Godfather and you get Marlon Brando's character. You don't get any of the other characters. And he sort of mentioned that there was a video game that came out, a Godfather-based game, and really it was only the Marlon Brando character and nothing else. They had to make up other characters, putting them into that universe.
Okay, I didn't know that. But licensing seems hard. It's not a kind of a job that I would ever want to get involved in, because it seems like a lot of to and fro and well, hey, if you want me to make something with your property, then give me everything.
Well, he was saying that, the Pirates of the Caribbean so far has been 18 months in development, but it was probably years before that they were in negotiation to get that license.
Yeah, well, Jack kind of made a joke when I asked him about the 6th license. Like, he asked me, what is it, in front of everyone on stage, and I actually have no idea. But now when I kind of think back, with the question, I think I do know what it is, but I don't want to kind of... It's like 2 years away, and Pirates just came out. So there's literally no point in talking about it now, because...
I know. Well, one of the other funny things he did mention is that whenever he comes to these shows, he gets every person coming up with a suggestion for a theme. And he said, some of them sound good, some of them not so good, but he's not going to tell them that they've got a shit idea.
Well, he can't. This is the thing. I mean, how many times can you be asked this, told the same question and just yeah, that's a great thing. It's you can't just say, oh, hey, you want a Godfather pinball machine? Bam, done. You're a genius. No one's ever thought of that before. Yeah. Oh, you like the Beatles when you were growing up, and in the 60s and the 70s. Sweet, man. Here's your Beatles pinball machine. So I don't think I suggested anything to them this weekend, and I won't in the future, because I'm pretty sure he knows. Give him suggestions on how to improve their current pinball machines if you want, but yeah.
Well, I did give him a suggestion.
Ah, Marty.
But it wasn't on theme.
Okay.
So this came about, and it was the very first thing I said to him when he came and said hello. I went, just in case I don't forget, I've got to tell you this. And this was when I was streaming during the week. I was streaming The Hobbit. I thought I'd, stream a Jersey Jack machine leading up to this event. And it sort of dawned on me that, all the effort I've got to go to, an effort. It's about, it's a half an hour before every stream, and there's cables and there's wires everywhere. And I said to him, this is the idea that came out on the stream. If you put a camera at the top of the back box, facing down onto the playfield, right there, you've now got the world's first immediately streamable machine, because you've already got a camera in the back that can show the player. You put a camera up the top that shows the playfield. You've already got a direct out of the score screen of the LCD.
Yep. Yep.
There you go. You've got a streaming machine right there. And by him doing that, people will stream their machines more.
That is a great idea, and I kind of touched on it in the interview as well, that, Jersey Jack is already miles ahead of other companies in their kind of, like they're the ones who started the whole LCD, let's call it a revolution in pinball.
Yep.
But I feel like they have to keep on innovating technology-wise. Obviously, they're innovating on the playfield and with rules and mechs and toys. But I think we need to see more internet connectivity, like auto updates, operator alerts, emails that how much your machine is earning, all that stuff. Like all that stuff is already there. The base work is there. It just needs to be internet connected. And I guess they're not doing it yet. But I feel like they should keep on going so that everyone's always playing catch up. Because eventually Stern, if Stern comes out and says, "Hey, you can now play a mate over the internet," well then they're the leaders in kind of technology, internet-based stuff with pinball machines. Like do a head-to-head battle. Can you imagine if that whole head-to-head battle thing that they're doing, you can do that online, like me versus you. We've got the same Stern pinball machine, Star Trek, right? Just pretend it's a spike machine, right? That can connect to the internet.
Yep.
It can have a screen like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the game auto plunges, and then I can't see you, you can't see me. But the goal is, say, to get into Kobayashi Maru, and whoever does it first, it flashes up on the LCD screen, you win, and it'll kill the game, and it'll kill your game and say you lose. That would be fun. I'd play with you all night long if we can do that, even if we weren't there, and play against other people on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I know it might sound stupid, and it might be for a very small percentage of the market, but I think because you have that base, you have that the computer that's sitting there, it'd be cool to kind of have that stuff.
I absolutely agree with you. I've got this, I don't know, maybe it is an interesting view on this, and it's to do with the fact that, he was saying that, when he comes to these shows, he gets hundreds of people shouting their ideas at him. And that's because we think, like me saying, oh my God, I've got this great idea, you've got this machine, add one camera, and all of a sudden it becomes instantly streamable. They've probably already thought of it. When we go up to them and we say, "Hey, you should really do a Harry Potter theme," do you think they haven't thought of it? I think I think these people are clever. I just think it's when we come up there with these suggestions, we're thinking that they haven't thought of this. They probably have, and they've probably explored it. I think when it comes to all those additional features that you want, and I think that they're important. Their main focus really is getting a license, building a machine, getting a playfield, making rules happen, making sure that people enjoy their machines. And we've just got to remember, that stuff's not easy. Not everybody is actually able to make a game that's fun. And some people have come out and said, it's really easy, anyone can design a pinball. No, that's actually not the case. It actually is a bit of an art form to have a playfield that is enjoyable for most people. And, I'll come back to what I was saying before when I was talking about Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm going, I'm flip-flopping. One minute I liked it, 1 minute I didn't, 1 minute... I'm just one person. There's so many people that got to play this game. Yeah. Everybody's going to experience it differently. They really should spend all their effort just focusing on making a game fun to play, not at the detriment of that, thinking about other add-ons.
Well, okay, this is the thing. Like, adding that extra element where I can play against you, doesn't that seem infinitely more. Like, I could be playing the worst game in the world. I could be playing NBA Fast Break. That's the joke about the tournament that I'll
Yes, I know. We'll get to that.
Right? So if I was playing, NBA Fast Break when you system link them together, that's more fun than playing NBA Fast Break by yourself. Playing competitive pinball, I find it fun, but I'm still waiting. Whereas if you're playing at the same time, it's just you're always engaged. It's more like a video game where you're always in there. These would be old video games where we like say Call of Duty or say Counter Strike. When you die, you have to wait till the next round starts. That's boring. Whereas with Call of Duty, when you die, you respawn 10 seconds later.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, and I totally get that you feel that that's great. What I'm saying is, if that's going to take a certain period of time to code that, I would rather Keith Johnson work on tweaking the rules and getting that game that's been released even better than on those features that really not everybody's actually going to enjoy.
I wish they could open source a section of the pinball, like the audits. And I've got a good friend, Lucas, who has managed to kind of like get into a certain part of the Hobbit, and he has certain things available. So he can that stuff you're talking about, the whole streaming thing, he's already done it. Not with the camera pointing towards you, because it's a Hobbit, doesn't have a camera, but he's got kind of direct audio out, and he got the hard drive on the Hobbit machine automatically recording what's on both LCD screens. So he's done that, like he's hacked it, right? So he can get permission to do it. He figured it out. But I think if they open source and gave people kind of like the API to do certain things, then the community will jump in and do a certain part for you. Not everything I was talking about, but the whole operator thing and emailing and getting connected online, that's easy. That said, all the stats are already there. It's literally just a script to automatically pull the data you need and send an email. But as I said, it's not a priority unless people, most of the operators aren't very, tech savvy. So maybe I'm in the don't have a very popular opinion here.
And I guess that's kind of my point where I'm talking about return on investment. If they are going to invest in doing that, really how many people are actually going to be using it? And is it going to be worth that time spent on that? Or is that time better spent actually just making the game play as best it can and the rules being as great as they can be? Because they don't have, an infinite amount of resources to be able to do this.
Yep. Open source it, bring it up to the community, and the one problem that I think they might have with the suggestion that you had is that they would need to then have a more powerful computer to do that, because as you know, with streaming, when you're capturing that many audio and data feeds, you've got a pretty intensive setup as it is, and your computer's kind of churning all that stuff. So if you had to, run a game and control the mechs and do everything at the same time, I was looking at animation on Dialed In, and so much stuff was happening at once that the animation started happening and the video was a little bit choppy, and it happens in my Wizard of Oz every once in a while. So if it's just kind of like struggling and on the edge with what's happening at the moment, you would definitely need a more powerful processor to do all the other stuff you want to do.
So that right there is exactly what I'm saying about all these suggestions that go to Jack. He's probably heard them all, and he's probably thinking, I can't say no to you. I've got to say, yep, that's a great idea. But what he's thinking is, yeah, you know what? I understand what you're doing, but in order for me to do that, I've then going to put a more powerful PC. That's going to cost me. I've then going to do all this extra layer of testing to make sure that works 100% of the time. And really, how many people are actually going to want to stream a Jersey Jack machine? You might as well just leave it to people having their basic camera setup. It's exactly what I'm saying, is that I think it's a great idea, and I'm really excited, and everybody in the chat was going, oh my God, you're onto something. You've got to tell Jack. And I did. I was right behind everybody, and I went up to Jack and I said, mate, you've got to do this. And he looked at me like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm like, okay, whatever. I thought it was really cool. And that's how we all feel. And we've touched on this so many times before. We get so excited about pinball, and we are not the only two people in the world that get really excited about pinball. And we expect when we're excited, somebody else meets that expectation of excitement. And he has to do that because he is the showman of Jersey Jack Pinball. And I think he does really well being able to feign enthusiasm to everybody that he speaks to, because it would drive me nuts.
He's a good face of the company.
He really is a good
talking about
face of the company.
A great face for a company that's no longer around, Andrew Highway. No. Let's talk about...
It was his birthday this week. Happy birthday, Andrew.
Happy birthday to Andrew Highway. Do you think he listens?
Well, we do get quite a few listeners from the UK, so if he does, I hope he's doing well.
But he's... No, let's not make it Andrew Highway jokes. That's horrible. I was about to... No. Okay.
Don't.
Okay. Alien. What did you think, Marty?
We got to play Alien. Okay, so here's where we flip-flop. Okay? So you sound bored.
Sorry, that was a shout-out to Bruce Nightingale.
Okay.
Yawn was for him.
That's right, but at least we're, at least an hour into it before we start yawning, Bruce. So, I have been quite critical of Alien in the past. But, we've always said that we just want to make fun on this podcast, and, if there's an opportunity to make a joke at somebody else's expense, well, then we'll absolutely do that. So, we got a chance to play Alien, and I think it was on 1.02 code. And what a surprise, Ryan, because I really enjoyed it. And I don't mean just, I really enjoyed it. It was a good game. I fucking really, really enjoyed that game.
Get your wallet out, Marty.
I am so tempted. This is absolute bullshit, but I'm really tempted because what I'd seen, I'd watched a lot, and I mean I've watched a lot of videos of streaming of Alien, and it's just looked really boring. The code has just looked really uninspired, and it just seemed to be the one shot over and over. The mode start hole was really difficult, but you had to get it. The xenomorph didn't work, and there really wasn't much going on the playfield. But I think whatever's happened in this last code update has changed that, because there was actually a lot to do, and there was a lot lit up on the playfield. But what was probably the biggest surprise, I'd said previously that it just looked really clunky, really metallic, and the shots looked awkward. It was anything but. The shots were actually a lot of fun. You got to play it too. What did you think?
I'm going to be totally honest, and I played one ball before it broke.
Yep.
And then I was so busy during the week that I didn't play it again, because I said, I know it's down there. I know you're going to stream it.
Yep.
I mean...
We'll get to stream it.
I didn't want to hog the machine for other people that wouldn't get a chance to play it, even though I did hog Pirates of the Caribbean, which totally doesn't make sense. But I was more interested in Pirates than Alien. But we got to play with we said that we got to play one game on the a couple of games on Pirates of the Caribbean the night before when we were setting up. I'll be honest. I'm sorry, Wayne. We played one game on Aliens as well.
We love you, Wayne.
We love you. And the issue that where the xenomorph kind of froze up and broke, it still has issues. It still has issues with that those two targets right above the xenomorph head. They're targets. They're getting hit with a metal ball. What happens? Targets get pushed back. They're not using like a reinforced target, so it's slowly millimeter by millimeter moving back. It moves back far enough that when the xenomorph opens her mouth to scream, it gets stuck because the back of that target is a very sharp bit of metal, and it just kind of gets jammed there.
Well, the jaw, the lower jaw of the xenomorph then doesn't lower enough. So and you'll actually see this. We've actually got some video footage of it where the what's supposed to be the extra set of teeth comes out and drags the ball up. You can kind of see on its way back up, it's not smooth. It kind of hits a bit of a ridge and then sort of slows down a little bit and then comes back up. So because that jaw, the bottom jaw doesn't go down enough, it doesn't have a clean way of bringing the ball back up. And the further those targets go back, the less the bottom jaw can go down. And after a while, it then gets stuck on it, and then that's what was happening during the day, the very first day of of Flip Out, and it then just burnt the motor and it stopped. So they disabled it.
You're saying burnt the motor, but it didn't break, did it?
Yes.
Like it didn't. What?
Yeah,
Okay.
it absolutely stopped working.
Okay.
So they then disabled that toy, so
God.
it could be played.
All right. Well, this is the first night that it happened. When it grabbed the ball, it didn't suck it back in, and we freaked out because we really shouldn't have been playing the machine. So we turned it off straight away, and it still was kind of like activated. Like it's almost like an error with the code and the logic. Like, hey, I can't pull back, and it just sits there and keeps on trying. It should be like, hey, I can't pull back. It's been 3 seconds. I'm going to disable the magnet now. So we didn't fuck it up.
No.
I guess someone just like it said didn't tell anyone, and they like kept on playing, and that's what would have burnt it out. So they still have some little issues.
It was freezing as well. Like I know that was some of the complaints, particularly the Buffalo Pinball guys had about the fact that the game just freezes and stops. That happened on day 2. It didn't really happen on day 1, and it certainly didn't. I probably had about 3 games on it. It didn't freeze when I played it, and so I hope that they can fix that, because it was the biggest surprise of the event, and I had a lot of people. I thought it might have just been me that was flip-flopping on this, but I asked a lot of people what they thought of Alien.
Yep, everyone was raving about it, because I think this is the big thing with. I mean, I played it last year, like in October last year, 12 months ago. I didn't think much of it because stuff didn't work, and the sound wasn't fleshed out. The modes weren't fleshed out. The software. This has had 1 year's worth of polish. Well, maybe not a year because people weren't getting paid, but this has had more time. This has had more time to brew. So it really shows you the difference between a quote unquote code complete game. And one that is very early on. And David Thiel, I'm going to give you 2 things I liked about the machine, and 2 things I didn't like. So one is the sound is absolutely amazing, I think.
Agreed.
2, with the lights off, I know you guys couldn't see the ball, right? So no one got to play with the lights off, but because we played one game at night, you were playing with the lights on. I went and switched the lights off, and Lucas screamed at me and said, "Turn the lights back on! I can't see the fucking ball."
It sounds like
it's a very dark game, and I don't know. I can track balls. That sounds horrible. I can track the ball better than most people. It was still very dark, but the machine in a dark environment is the prettiest machine I've ever seen. Pretty in that kind of like glowing sense. I don't mean pretty in artwork. The eggs look amazing when they're lit up. It gives you that dark, eerie environment, and that's how the game is meant to be played. It's been said before in other podcasts, like playing under fluorescent lights in like at a show, you're not going to get that. The best part of the pinball machine is lost. So those are the 2 good things. The 2 bad things, one is I'm really OCD with the way that the ball flows, like with like ramp returns and things like that. And it's probably my number 1 complaint of the Hobbit is that when the ball goes through the right or leftmost in lane, it's this really nice smooth return to the flipper. Whereas if it goes through the in lane that's closest to the sling, it kind of like crashes into the sling and then it slowly trickles out. Yeah. There's some OCD thing that I have that really upsets me. Now, the ramp return on Alien is possibly the worst, most unsatisfying ramp return I've ever seen in my life, because there's a gate there and they use this flimsy like metal, and every time the ball goes down the right in lane or through the ramp or just through normal ball play, the gate kind of like sucks all the momentum out of the ball, and then it kind of like goes back and forth, and then it goes to the flipper. And that drove me absolutely crazy. In the one ball that I had, I was like, I don't know what it does to me. It drives me crazy. The other one is that the flipper gap is the smallest flipper gap I think I've ever seen. I'm not sure if I was seeing things, but it's not.
I just didn't feel that. I felt it was just a very standard size flipper gap.
You had the longest ball time, and you thought you had this amazing game, and it's because the flipper gap is tiny, and not only that, there's a post in the middle there, and hopefully the post is removable because it doesn't need a post.
It does not need a post.
if you get a center drain, like you deserved it. Like this, outlane drains, fair enough, but it's the center post drain. And as I said, these are different machines than other people have played previously. This is off the new run with the new investors in Highway Pinball.
All right. So anyone that's got a new Highway Pinball Alien machine, I want you to measure that flipper gap, because I reckon Ryan is absolutely bonkers when it comes to this. I think it's just a very standard flipper gap, and I'm a very good player and could play for 15 minutes.
I tried to take a picture when Nigel was playing, but I'd realised that he plays one flipper up, one flipper down all the time. So I sat there for about 20 seconds trying to take a picture, and I took a couple, and I went back and I looked through them so I can clear them in the show notes. I've got 20 pictures with one flipper up and one flipper down, so you can't tell in those pictures. So someone will take a picture for me, and we'll measure it when we go to Mr. Pinball. We'll measure it, and we'll see if I'm crazy or not. Yeah. The flipper, it's when the ball goes down the right outlane, it hits the post on the way through. Like, it's such a crowded little area there. Anyway, that's Aliens.
Yeah.
That's
Awesome.
my impressions after one ball.
Well, as I said, I had a few games, and it was funny because I turned it on going, oh, this is going to be fucking hilarious. And I was really surprised, and I looked really stunned at people around me, and then, what are you stunned? I went, I have a game. I don't know what I think. And they had a game and went, oh my God, this is actually really enjoyable. And I'm like, oh, thank God. I thought it was just me. I was expecting it just to be, and maybe it is expectations. I thought it was going to be shit, so therefore it's exceeded expectations. But that so many people throughout the 2 days of Flip Out said that they really enjoyed Alien.
Yep. I said the same thing. I had one or two people said they didn't really care for it because it the second LCD is useless and this and, nitpicking. There isn't my toys in the player field, just the LCD, in the Queen's Chamber used to be. But everyone else absolutely loved it, and I think it'll be a popular pin here in Australia when Wayne gets the rest of his stock.
Yeah, cool. So there you go. So what else happened? So look, the other thing about Flip Out was it was really, really good to meet some people that had listened to the podcast. It was quite funny because we would be talking, or I would be talking to somebody, and you could just see out the corner of your eye someone was listening to us, and it was almost like they'd heard something really familiar, and then they'd say, are you from Head to Head? And I'm like, yeah, how did you know? And they said, I just recognized the voice.
Some people called me Marty.
Do you know what? Everyone kept coming to me going, oh, you're Marty. Where's the other guy?
Oh, come on, mate. Ryan C. Yeah, so big shout out to Tony. This is the thing. I mean, lots of people that we know listen to the podcast, but we know them already. So when someone, mentions the pod, well, this is the first time it's ever happened to me, really. But it was a nice feeling that someone that we don't know is now connected to us through the podcast. So big shout out to Tony. I think it was from New South Wales. Rocket from South Australia. Matt from regional New South Wales is a really nice guy. And Paul, who... Yes. Do you want to talk about Paul, Marty?
Well, he was really, really pleased to tell me that he had now gone to a pinball comp because he listened to the podcast. I think that's really cool. That is very cool.
And it's like, as I said, there's people out there that listen. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you, and not just from Australia. We look at our stats, and we get the geo stats, so we know there's 2 people in Iceland listening to us, there's people from all around the world, and it's not many from these other small countries. But send us an email. I want to know what it's like to play pinball in Botswana.
Well, a big shout out to Jack. So this Jack. The Jack OST, he watches my stream every week, twice a week, and he's from Germany, and I just love the fact that somebody from Germany happens to be up at the same time as I'm streaming, and I think that's very cool. And there's someone from Sweden that watches it. This is kind of cool. We did this because we wanted to talk about pinball and we wanted to share news, and we thought that we were really talking to the Australian audience because there was a bit of a gap because the pinheads weren't doing their podcast anymore. But the fact that there's so many people from around the world listening is very cool. And again, there was another guy, Chris. Hello, Chris. Was good to meet you as well. So many people came up to us, and we can only remember so many names, unfortunately.
One other funny story from the Jersey, the Flip Out event, Jersey Jack, was signing a whole bunch of things, right? He was signing flyers. People were bringing aprons.
Richard Rhodes.
Richard Rhodes drives a motorbike, and he he just left his helmet on the table, but it happened to be the signing table. So at the end of the day, when it was time to go, he went to grab his helmet, and it had a Jersey Jack signature on there, which I thought was pretty funny.
It was hilarious. And everyone said, "Are you bothered?" And he went, "Nah, not really. It's actually a bit of fun." So good on him.
Good on Richard.
So there you go. So that's the end of Flip Out. It was a fantastic event, and we are going to do it again next year. We hope.
Well, as long as there's a Jersey Jack.
Well, I think even if there's not. So we talked a couple of episodes ago about the fact that there's so many people keep coming up to us saying, you should do an event. You should come up and do an event. The other thing that people kept saying to us over the weekend was, please keep doing the podcast. So that was also really good to hear. But people also again kept saying, I hope you do an event next year. And I think that maybe Flip Out will become the big event next year. We'll make it
done. Well, is there any way to organise Melbourne match play around the same thing? That would be pretty cool, right? If
well, we could, because
it's all inclusive.
Well, because I believe Melbourne match play is in maybe 3 weeks. So we've got PAX this weekend, a week off, and then Melbourne match play. So if it's that close, and I know Luke, who organises that, is watching. And what you got to remember is Flip Out was only announced, 3 or 4 weeks ago. We didn't know it was on until 3 or 4 weeks ago. So it's very hard for him to be able to time these. But if we can, coordinate the timing for next year, there's absolutely no reason why those two things can't happen at the same time. And it makes a good reason to if you've got 30 or 40 machines there.
Well, it was organised so quickly that they couldn't even get it IFPA approved.
That is correct.
There. Yeah. Right. It was 1 or 2 days late.
It was 1 day late. I tried to submit, and I was 1 day late, so we couldn't get it IFPA approved. So there you go.
Are we going to quickly talk about the tournament? Or are we going to do that?
We are going to talk about the tournament. So there were 2 tournaments on, wasn't there?
Yeah, one was a high score and dialed in, pretty much. So whoever had the high score on there was 2 dialed ins there, but the one machine that was in the tournament area won a prize, and the other one was basically a 4-player match, and the 4 players were the ones that scored the highest score on 4 of the tournament machines throughout the day. So
it was a best game qualifying over each day.
Did you enter the comp on the first day, Marty?
No, I didn't. I was busy.
Yeah, I was too busy on the first day. The second day, I said I'm going to win that dialed in trophy, and I went up to the machine, and you were in front of me, and you had a pretty good game, Marty. You ended up beating everyone's score, and you were about 2 million, I think, on dialed in.
Yeah, probably about that. A little bit lower than that, but yeah, it was a good game.
Yep, and you did it while... This is how good Marty is at playing tournaments. Someone was behind him the entire game, literally 1 or 2 centimeters behind, breathing down his neck. And he didn't even know. If you knew he was there, you would have trained immediately because it was very creepy.
It's one... I actually don't mind if people are standing right next to me and I don't notice it. The thing that grinds my gears, Ryan...
Oh, don't say it.
The thing that freaking grinds my gears is when I'm playing a game...
Yes.
And someone's commentating my game. Oh, he hit that shot. And oh, he just got multi-ball. And oh, he's going to go for this shot. Who was doing that while I was playing?
That was me. I'm sorry. I've apologized to you already.
Oh, fuck, I hate it. I hate it so much.
I can't help myself because, as I said in the last episode, I feel like I'm the JJP tutorial guy because
I know.
So I see people go up to dialed in and they flail around and they just hit the guy and start the mode, get stuff going. So I feel like I'm the ambassador to try and get people to play, but I did it during a game and you didn't tell me off, so I did it.
Do you know what I didn't tell you off?
20 minutes.
I didn't tell you off because I just can't get angry at you.
Really?
Yeah, there's just something about you. I just cannot get angry at you. I just think, you know what? You're there talking to somebody who doesn't know about the game. I couldn't get angry at it, but I probably would have had a better score if you hadn't been commentating.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if your score would have been that good because
it didn't really matter.
Jordan Treadaway got up and he got into Chaos and Quantum City, Armageddon. He did it all, and it was 3-point-something million. And I'm not going to pretend like I didn't try. I think I gave it a couple of goes, and I ended up getting 3rd place. So Jordan got the 1st place trophy for that. You got second, and I got third. But because I didn't get the Dalton Trophy, I played my Demolition Man, which happened to be in the in that section, and I got the highest score. Actually, I got the highest score on Circus Voltaire. I got the second highest score on Demolition Man.
So on Demolition Man, did you end up getting Museum Multiball?
I did.
So I've now heard that call out.
Yeah, it's at a tournament. I said I'm going to get you in my house, and I'm going to show you in a home.
I had not played. I've got to tell you, I had not played Demolition Man since it came out.
Wow, people were playing it non-stop.
Oh no, actually, tell a lie. I did play it once at Indisc at Never Drains in Southern California. God, whenever it was, a couple of years ago. I played it once and just went, ugh, I don't like it, because I just felt it was awkward. But I haven't really played it a lot, and I had probably about 4 or 5 games on it over the weekend. I loved it, and it just. I remember coming up to you saying, you said to me, it's a wide body that's got flow. And it really has got great flow. I mean, when you've got really powerful flippers, those shots are exactly where they need to be. It feels really good.
Yep. And it'll be at PAX this weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But, I was so happy that I got into the final because I thought it's going to be undialed in. And as long as I don't finish last, I'm going to get a trophy. And I stupidly told my kid before I left for the day, because I was gone the entire day, both days, I'm going to bring back a trophy, all right? So when you tell a kid that who's 6 years old, okay, daddy. So all I have to do is not finish last on dialed in, right? I know this game. I think I can come third at least, or maybe second. But Lucas had other plans in mind, and just for funsies, because it wasn't an IFBA tournament, he decided that it was going to be on NBA Fast Break. Now, I've hardly played any games on NBA Fast Break, so I decided to have one quick practice game, and I scored. I think I was on ball 2 with an extra ball, and I was on 80 baskets, which was pretty good. In the game, after 3 balls, I had, I think, 17 baskets or something, so I came last. Which everyone that was there knew that I was very upset about. Not seriously upset, like Ryan whinging upset. So there was only 3 trophies and there was nothing for 4th place. But during the presentation, Lucas said, "I've got something for you. Don't worry, I got your back, bro." Because Lucas likes to poke fun at you, right? So they presented the first place, the second place. It was Eddie got first place. Jordan got second. Michael from South Australia got third. And they said, and Ryan, and I could see him reaching for something. I think, oh my God, it's going to be a translate. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. It's a special VIP prize for me. And it was, I don't even know if I got a picture of it. It was a deflated balloon. With
half-inflated balloon.
Half-inflated balloon with Jersey Jack's signature on it.
Yeah.
So it's special, right? I'll keep it. I'll frame it.
It was.
So that was the tournament.
But I got a special, I guess, a prize for coming second in the dialed-in comp.
You got a hat?
I did get a hat.
Yeah. I got a translate.
What else did I get besides the hat?
Geez, you got a smooch.
I got a kiss from Jersey Jack. That's right, I did, and you'll see that in the show notes.
Well, this is the thing. After he presented you with your prize and a kiss, I got the translate, and people were like, "Oh, come on, Jack, give him a kiss," and I was up for it. I didn't care, and he denied me. He denied me the kiss.
It's a thing between me and Jack.
Yeah, Jack loves Marty.
No
kisses for Ryan.
It just shows he is such a good sport. He's a good guy. It was very funny. He obviously remembered that, I may have kissed him the year before. Whatever.
Yeah, it scarred him, mate.
It really has. Oh, man. So, what have we been doing this week besides that?
Pinball. All right.
I love it.
We had an interstate visitor. A guy in Aussie Arcade called Rob was in town, and everyone from Aussie Arcade was kind of meeting up at the Golden Fleece on Monday, which is when we record our podcast. So I invited Rob over my house on Tuesday during the day, or just after work, and he said, "Sure, I'll come." And then someone else said, "Oh, hey, I didn't get to the meet. I can come as well." And I said, "Well, geez, if there's going to be 2 people at my house, there might as well be 3 or 4 or 5." So I kind of did a last minute, less than 24-hour notice, open invite to my house, because it was going to be 33 degrees Celsius, which I have no idea how much it's in Fahrenheit, maybe 80 or so. Beautiful day, good day to open up the games room, have some beers. And there ended up being, I don't know, 20 people at my house, maybe.
Yes.
So it was great, because I love last minute stuff. I don't like planning too far in advance. I get anxiety when stuff is that far away. So thanks to everyone that came. It was really nice. It's the first meet I've had in a while, and it's good to have your pinballs played, because I can only play a certain amount of pinballs every day, and all of them were being used at once. Some people were playing pinball machines for the first time. I think it was the first time possibly that Jordan Trudeau was playing the Shadow. And I have to apologize to Stephen, who's Jordan's dad, when they rocked up, because Jordan's under 18 years old, so he can't drive. So his dad or his mum has to drive him to tournaments and things like that. I just listened to the Slam Tilt podcast where they did their interview with Escher Lefkoff and Adam Lefkoff. Now, Adam made a joke that, he's Escher's dad because, Escher's so good at playing pinball that he no longer has an identity. He's just the dad of the person who does well. Right. And I don't know. I listened to it and I thought I'd crack a joke, but obviously he hadn't listened to the podcast. So I shook his hand. I was like, "Hey, Jordan. Hello, father of Jordan." And he kind of looked at me like, it's Stephen. And I'm like, and I was about to explain the whole thing, and I said, "No, I'm not going to, that's just too awkward." I'm like, yeah, sorry. So this is my explanation to him. I'm sorry. It was a joke that I thought you would get, but you were never going to get it. So
no, he doesn't listen to podcasts. He wouldn't know that stuff.
Well, I think Jordan does. And I apologize to Jordan as well, because we give him a lot of shit about being the one and the best and this and that. And it's probably a bit too much. We should just let him be. We should let him be the best.
He really does not like the spotlight. He just likes to just get in there and play a good game.
His ranking is like number 3 on the there's the normal ranking, which is like 100 and something.
Yep.
But then there's that other ranking, which is like the meant to be the true ranking thing or whatever it is, and he's like number 3 in the world. So
really?
We're not joking. Yeah, we're not joking when we're saying this guy's good.
He is very, very good.
Even though Eddie bet him on the weekends. Eddie's good as well. What else? Okay, last thing I want to talk about is I have to, now that Expo is over, I think I need to book my trip to TPF, which is the Texas Pinball Festival in March. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
And I don't want to just go and come back. I'm going to spend, I think, a week in and around New York with Charles, my good internet friend. And I don't want to do just pinball stuff because, I don't want to get pinball overload, because TPF is going to be pinball overload. It's going to be saturated there. I want to go to the Sunshine Laundry Mat. I want to do a couple of pinball things, but can someone from the US, I know there's a lot of US listeners out there, I don't know, plan out my trip for me. This is what I used to get my wife to do, but she's not going to do it for me this time. I want to spend a week in and around New York State. So I'm not sure. One idea I had was possibly flying into Toronto and visiting the Niagara Falls, because I've always wanted. I love waterfalls. I love nature. I know I don't know. Someone tell me if these things are tourist traps. I don't think the Niagara Falls is a tourist trap, because it is like one of the 7 wonders of the world. And then maybe rent a car and then drive down to New York City. Yeah. So I'm not sure if there's anything interesting on the way, but I want a real person. I don't want to be Googling stuff and feel like, oh, hey, yeah, go see the Statue of Liberty and go to the Times Square and tell me what's actually good and what's junk, what's a tourist trap, and what should I really do in New York. So please email us at head2head pinball@gmail.com. That's head, the number 2, head pinball@gmail.com.
Awesome.
What'd you get up to, Matty?
Oh, look, the only one I told you about the Hobbit stream, and I know that I've now been given a link to a Google group where everyone's talking about the Hobbit, and what I didn't realise is that there's a lot of angst towards the Hobbit. I wasn't aware of that. I like the game. I think that there's obviously there's some more they could be doing with it, and hopefully Keith will give it a bit of a going over, and as you want more than anything, put a wizard mode into it.
There are wizard modes, just not the final wizard mode.
Not the final wizard mode. Yeah. So, look, I enjoy playing The Hobbit. I don't necessarily have to play it every day because it is one of those ones where it's a bit of a grind. But it's a good game. This is what I found out about Jersey Jack games, right? It's maybe even dialed in to an extent. But if you think about Wizard of Oz, it's a great game, but not everybody loves it. It really is. You either do or you don't. Hobbit is exactly the same. You either like it or you don't.
No, Marty, I'm going to correct you.
Go.
Everyone loves dialed in.
No, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
no.
sorry.
That's what I said. I said maybe not dialed in. The difference with oh, come on. But the difference is you're tuning out again. But the thing with dialed in though is that people love playing the game. Not many people love the theme. They some people do, some people don't.
You have to play it. No one says they love dialed in before they play it. They play
exactly
it and
right.
then.
That's exactly. But yeah.
We talked about the real winner of we were talking about last week, the winner of Expo. The winner of the flip out was dialed in. I did not hear people were raving about Aliens. No one said anything bad about Pirates of the Caribbean, but no one was saying, "Oh my god, it's the best game ever." They said it's got so much stuff, but as I said, it's not there yet code wise. Everyone loved dialed in, and as I said, that's without knowing all the rules, which is why I was annoyingly discussing it when you're the tournament. But this is the thread I want to talk about really quickly on the Jersey Jack Google group. It's JJP's Black Sheep, The Hobbit, and I'm not going to read posts. There's 80 posts in this this Google group thread, but basically, it's. People are a little bit upset that dialed in is already kind of like more polished than The Hobbit, and I think people's issue, which is maybe my biggest issue, is that there's 30 something modes in there, but you only need to complete 3 of them, and you can get through the entire game by completing 3. So all the other modes are, yes, you can use them to rack up points. Yes, there's a lot of strategy involved with doing modes in a certain order to get map multipliers and things like that. But since there's no all-encompassing wizard mode that makes use of those other modes, it would be like if there's no gifts from the elves in Lord of the Rings Pinball. I know you don't know Lord of the Rings that much, but that's what ties the pinball machine together. That's what says, hey, finish that mode. Like, you got one more shot, Gandalf or whoever's counting you down, Gimli, make that shot. It's important. It adds stress, it adds fun, it adds excitement, right? When you just need to finish 3 modes out of 30, what's the point? What's the point of the other modes? That's just rubbish, right? That's what I think about The Hobbit. As I said, I had to get it out of my house so I wouldn't sell it because I love the machine so much. I don't want to sell it, right? I think it's special. There's something great in that pinball machine. It just needs that last, I'm not even going to say 10% because it doesn't even need 10. It just needs that last thing to tie it all together, and I hope it does. I hope it doesn't, that it releases this update and then it's still in the state that it's in. I'm fussier than other people with code, even more fussy than you. So, as I said, this is just for, for the owners that can go through all 3 Ark and Stone modes and then just start the loop again. It doesn't feel great to play a 50-minute game to loop around to the start.
Yeah. Okay. I'm obviously not as passionate about that as you are. I think what's there is fine.
Machine, man.
I think what is there is fine. But having had that that experience that we had with dialed in, and yeah, I can probably draw a parallel to dialed in where that moment where we had that chaos in whatever it is, Quantum City. That was a really special mode, and I think they know now more than they did back when they were doing Hobbit to make that moment special. But the mini wizard modes are great in Hobbit. That's enough for me.
Okay,
that's enough.
How about the last one? Do you like the last one where you have to hit like 20 beasts in Battle of the 5 Armies? 20 beasts. It's a grind.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And maybe if Keith does give it a bit of a go and a bit of a polish, he will maybe fix some of that stuff. Who knows?
We'll see. They are going to do it. It's just a matter of time. And I think people are just a little bit upset that Pirates of the Caribbean have come out, and obviously Keith is working on that. And Yeah, I mean, they said it themselves. They said we don't release. That was part of their selling point and their pitch on Pirates of the Caribbean. We don't release pinball machines that are not code complete. That started with Dialed In because Wizard of Oz wasn't code complete when it came out.
Yeah.
Hobbit was nowhere near code complete. It was empty, and that was delayed. So we're talking about a pinball machine that was announced in November 2012 that still isn't finished yet. So that's where the angst and the anger is coming from.
Okay. Well, I've applied to join that group, so I'll be hearing all the angst, or I'll be reading all the angst. But speaking of Pirates of the Caribbean, do you remember what I promised last episode?
That you would watch 2, was it? Or
yes.
1?
No, I promised that I would watch 2 Pirates of the Caribbean films, the first 2 films.
Did you just watch Don Copter instead?
I had that on repeat. Oh, that was also funny at Flip Out. How many people said that they'd watched Don Copter? Everyone, that is Ryan's fault. Just don't blame me.
You know what? We did that bit, and I totally forgot about it. And then I started getting all these messages throughout the week, and people didn't say, "Oh my god, I just watched Don Copter. You're an idiot." They were kind of like hinting about because they don't want to talk about a guy swinging his genitals around. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, the Don Copter, dude. I'm like, oh god, I forgot I did that.
Yeah, you did. So, did I watch 2 movies this week?
Did you, Matty?
No, I watched 1.5.
Okay.
So
Did you like 1?
I didn't.
No?
No, not at all.
Oh god.
And
don't watch the rest then.
No, but let me tell you. Let me tell you why. It might as well be a freaking Benny Hill film. You might as well have the music going. You know, when these people, like, I just remember the scene where someone gets a fry pan on the back of the head. They go cross-eyed and then fall backwards. Fuck me.
Don't take it. Okay, I should have told you. It's not a serious movie.
No, it doesn't. No. I know it's not a serious film, but stuff like that is so basic humor. It's so basic that I looked at it and just went, "Oh,
what can I say? I'm a basic bitch, all right?"
I'm glad that you understood the subtext of what I was saying without me actually having to say it.
Yes, Queen. Right.
It was just, it was that. And you know when someone sees something and they faint because it was just so horrifying? Oh, just stop it. I will say the first one, I did actually sit through, and yes, it was dreadful, but I was entertained. I will tell you now, I was entertained. Visually, it's a beautiful film. It's a grand film, and you can see where the budget's gone. It's a big blockbuster film. I got it. The second film, I got halfway through.
Which one is the second film, the Davy Jones one?
Yes.
Octopus Face 2? Okay.
Yeah. Dead Man's Chest?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Second one?
Yeah.
Something
whatever.
like that.
I don't know.
It's appalling. It's terrible, and I couldn't get through the entire movie. I did actually expect to be able to, because I've got the day off today, hence why I'm pissed whilst we're recording. I was expecting to watch the other half today, but every time I sat down to watch the rest of it, I just thought of so many other things I'd rather be doing, including having a sleep for an hour. So there you go. I will get through it.
So don't. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to go even further than that, or just 2? Because
No, well, I've got them.
Salazar.
I've got them, and I do want to see them because when I first saw the Pirates of the Caribbean Pinball, I looked at all the characters in the playfield, and I looked and I said to you, "Oh,
who's that?
Is that Penelope Cruz? Is she in one of the movies?" And you went, "Yeah, the 4th one, but don't bother." Yeah. So I want to know where these characters are. That I will watch it at some stage.
I can't even remember. Like the shot underneath the upper left flipper is like a little kid. I don't remember seeing a kid in any of the films. So as I said, it's watching them years apart is too much.
Yeah.
Watching them all in a week, Marty, you're in for a rough ride.
Yeah, I know. It was fun. Again, so many people on the weekend come up to me and said, "So, did you watch the 2 films?" It's like, oh my god, did I tell you? Oh yeah, of course I did. I've told everybody. So, And the other one that people kept coming to me saying was, "Are you really looking to buy a new house just so you can have more pinball?" And the answer is yes. I spent quite some time on it today, so I'm looking at a house on Thursday. So we'll see how we go. That's it. I think we're done for this week. That is
the last little thing. Buddy.
No, because
I'll do it in 20 seconds. There's a guy who rocked up on the weekend and he had a pinball injury. He stuck his finger inside the coffin lock on Metallica and then it closed on him and he ripped his finger out and he's got like a broken finger or something. Please email us your worst pinball related injury. That's all. Thank you. Is that pretty good? That was quick. We should do the whole podcast like that. We'll be done in 10 minutes.
Absolutely. Do you want to know what my worst pinball-related injury is?
No. You can't talk about this. We have to move on.
Oh, okay. So we have to talk about it next time. All right.
Next week.
People write in, and then I will tell you my worst pinball-related injury, and you will be in awe at how boring it is.
Cool. So I'm going to sing you out, Marty.
Are you going to... Oh, yes! People have been asking for you to sing us out. Go.
Already? Okay.
Yeah.
This is dedicated to you, Marty.
Okay.
Stop laughing.
I can't.
I haven't even started. All right. I can't.
Go.
Say the password. Singapore SAGAPO. Say. Do you remember what that song?
What was that?
Eurovision. Now Eurovision.
It was Eurovision. So just FYI, before we go, last week when we were editing, we just started sharing our love of Eurovision. Because remember, we don't know each other that well. We only just discovered after 13 weeks of doing this podcast, we both love Eurovision.
Massive Eurovision band. So I've got a lot of content. I can just keep on singing the worst songs because Singapore by Greece in 2004, whenever it was, absolutely horrendous. I want to sing all, not the good songs, the bad songs. Yep. Well, they're all bad, aren't they?
They're all, most of them really bad. It's gotten too serious these days. Anyway, thank you everybody for listening this week. Where can they get in touch with us though, Ryan? You've asked them to email us, but how are they going to email us?
Our website, head2headpinball.com. You've got our Facebook there, Instagram, our Twitter. Follow us, email us, stalk us.
Just email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com.
You can email us through the contact page on our website. It all gets to us.
All right. So, PAX. PAX is coming up this week. So, please.
It's a long podcast.
I know this is a really... Someone said to me, are you going to do a 3-hour podcast next?
Just edit Jack out.
I think this is going to be 3 hours. Anyway, so PAX is on this weekend. We are going to have Pirates of the Caribbean is going to be there. Dialed In is going to be there. Hobbit is going to be there. I think that's really it from Jersey Jack. And then there's going to be lots of other... There'll be competitions. There'll be lots of stuff. Come down to the exhibition or the convention centre down in Melbourne from the 27th to the 29th of October. Come and say hi to Ryan and myself. You can check in to see whether I did see the second half of the second Pirates of the Caribbean film. The answer is probably no, but come down and see us. We'll also be streaming from the event on the Melbourne Silver Ball League Twitch page. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.